Ferrari are bringing so many upgrades in the second half of the season, they will expect to be the fastest car at some point over these next couple of months.
Lewis Hamilton breaks his silence and drops a bombshell on Mercedes. The seven-time world champion...
Hamilton! Lewis Hamilton!
believes Ferrari can seriously challenge Mercedes in the second half of the F1 season. According to Hamilton, his chemistry and understanding with the Ferrari team have become stronger than ever, while the entire team is now more united, motivated, and working in greater harmony. With Ferrari determined to close the gap to Mercedes, Hamilton is calling for one final push to turn their growing momentum into a serious championship attack. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're breaking down exactly what Hamilton said, what it means for the title fight, and whether Ferrari really has what it takes to end one of the longest droughts in Formula One history. Stick around because this story has layers. Let's start with where things actually stand in the championship, because context is everything here. Lewis Hamilton currently sits second in the drivers' standings, but he's not exactly close to the top. He's trailing the current championship leader, Kimi Antonelli, by 50 points. Yes, Antonelli, the very driver who replaced Hamilton at Mercedes when he made the move to Ferrari. There's a storyline in itself. On the constructors' side, the picture is tougher. Ferrari is sitting 72 points behind Mercedes. That's not a small gap to close with half a season remaining. But here's the twist: Ferrari has one major advantage working in its favour: reliability. While Mercedes has reportedly been dealing with engine trouble this season, Ferrari's cars have held up better mechanically. In a championship battle this tight, reliability can be just as valuable as raw pace. A single engine failure or DNF can undo months of hard-fought points, and if Mercedes keeps stumbling on that front, Ferrari's door stays wide open. So, on paper, Ferrari is behind. But behind doesn't mean out. Think about how F1 championships actually play out over a full season. Points gaps that look enormous in June can look very different by October, especially when one team is fighting mechanical gremlins on top of everything else. Reliability isn't glamorous, it doesn't make headlines the way a pole position or a dramatic overtake does, but it's often the quiet decider of championships. A team that finishes races consistently, even in 4th or 5th, will eventually outscore a team that finishes first one weekend and retires the next. That's the math Ferrari is banking on right now. And it's a legitimate strategy heading into the back half of the calendar. Now let's talk about why this matters so much for Ferrari specifically. This isn't just any championship push, this is a team that has been starving for glory. Ferrari hasn't won a constructors' title since 2008, let that sink in. And their last drivers' champion was Kimi Raikkonen, all the way back in 2007. That's nearly 2 decades of near misses, heartbreaks, and rebuilding. Every driver who has walked through Maranello's doors since then has been chasing the ghost of that success, and so far, the mountain hasn't been climbed. Sebastian Vettel came close, Charles Leclerc has come close, but close is the story of a modern Ferrari. Enter Lewis Hamilton, arguably the most successful driver of his generation, brought in specifically to end that wait. And after his first real season and a half inside the team, he's now telling the world something significant. The foundation is finally there. So what exactly did Hamilton say that's got everyone talking? Speaking to the media, Hamilton described the opening part of his season with Ferrari as strong, while admitting there's still more to unlock. He pointed to a genuine shift in atmosphere at the team, describing the working relationship between himself, his personal engineers, and the wider Ferrari race team as stronger than it has ever been. He was candid about the process too. Building that level of trust and understanding, he said, took roughly a full year. That's the reality of a driver switch at this level. It isn't just about talent, it's about two sides learning how the other communicates, thinks, and reacts under pressure. According to Hamilton, that alignment is now finally in place, and he sees it as a genuine platform to build from for the rest of the campaign. But he didn't stop at compliments. Hamilton was clear that there's still work ahead, specifically when it comes to what he called galvanizing the troops. In other words, taking the raw passion and energy inside the Ferrari factory and turning it into consistent race-winning execution. and that passion, according to Hamilton, is not in short supply. He described the atmosphere inside Maranello as unlike anything he's experienced before, a workforce that loves this team deeply. His job now, as he sees it, is to help channel and direct that energy in the right direction. It's worth pausing on that word choice, galvanizing. Hamilton isn't saying Ferrari lacks talent, or effort, or ambition. He's saying the raw ingredients are already there in abundance. What's missing, in his view, is the final layer of direction that turns individual brilliance into a single, coordinated push towards silverware. That's a subtle but important distinction, and it says a lot about how Hamilton sees his own role at Maranello, not just as a driver delivering lap times, but as a figure capable of shaping the culture around him. Let's not forget the results backing up this narrative, because Hamilton isn't just talking, he's delivering. His victory at the Spanish Grand Prix marked a milestone moment in his Ferrari career, followed by 4 additional podium finishes. That's a driver who is clearly finding his rhythm at exactly the right time. For a team that has waited this long for a title, momentum like this paired with Hamilton's public confidence sends a strong signal to the paddock. Ferrari is not conceding this championship, and with Mercedes dealing with reliability question marks of their own, the second half of the season could look very different from the first. So the big question, can Ferrari really pull this off? 50 points behind in the drivers' standings and 72 behind in the constructors is a real deficit, and nobody should pretend otherwise. But Formula One seasons are long, unpredictable, and often decided by moments of misfortune as much as moments of brilliance. If Mercedes' engine troubles continue, and if Ferrari can keep stacking podiums and wins the way Hamilton has since Spain, that gap can shrink fast. What makes this situation genuinely interesting is the psychological angle. Hamilton isn't just a driver chasing a title, he's a 7-time world champion who has been in title fights before, who knows what it takes to close out a season, and who is now explicitly saying the team around him is finally truly aligned. That's not the kind of statement a driver makes lightly, especially one known for being measured with his words. If Ferrari's engineers, strategists and mechanics rally the way Hamilton is calling for, this could be the second half of the season where the Scuderia finally turns nearly 2 decades of frustration into genuine title contention. And if it happens, the story won't just be about a champion switching teams, it will be about a champion rebuilding one from the inside out, race weekend by race weekend, until the drought finally, dramatically ends. So there you have it, Lewis Hamilton, fully committed, fully aligned with Ferrari, and calling on the entire team to rally behind one final push. The numbers say Ferrari is still the underdog, but the momentum, the reliability edge, and Hamilton's own words suggest something is building in Maranello. Honestly, do you truly think Ferrari can actually catch Mercedes and end this championship drought? Or is the gap simply too big to close? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, hit that like button if you enjoyed this breakdown. And subscribe for more in-depth F1 coverage as this title fight heats up. Thanks for watching, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. We'll see you in the next one.
It goes 20 years strong, so it's pretty deep. So I think this is my 20th year, right? Someone told me on my 20th, yeah. So it's been building.
Lewis Hamilton and Lando Norris break silence about Silverstone as fresh concerns grow over the British Grand Prix under Formula One's new regulations. Hamilton admitted Ferrari has a fundamentally strong car, but its weakness in straight-line speed and power deployment could become a major problem at Silverstone, where long straights and energy management are expected to play a crucial role. The 7-time world champion also warned that iconic high-speed sections such as Copse, Maggots and Beckett's may no longer feel as thrilling or flat out as before, because drivers will have to manage battery power more carefully. Norris echoed Hamilton's concerns, saying Silverstone is likely to feel slower and less challenging than in previous years, with the new rules preventing drivers from attacking the circuit in the same way as before. So what exactly is going on at one of Formula One's most beloved circuits? Let's break it down. For decades, Silverstone has stood as a rite of passage for Formula One drivers, a flowing, high-speed test where courage matters as much as car performance. This weekend, though, Both Hamilton and Norris are warning fans not to expect the same spectacle. Under the sport's new power unit regulations, cars are leaning far more heavily on electrical deployment than before, and that has created a problem at tracks like Silverstone that don't offer many hard braking zones. Fewer braking zones mean fewer chances to recharge the battery. And Silverstone's layout, full of fast, sweeping corners rather than heavy stops, makes it one of the toughest circuits on the calendar for energy recovery. The result, according to Hamilton, is that drivers will effectively run out of electrical power for large sections of the lap, forcing them to rely on the combustion engine alone through corners that used to be taken at full electrical and mechanical force. Speaking ahead of the race, Hamilton didn't hold back. He described the upcoming weekend as unlike anything drivers have experienced before in terms of power management, noting that the topic has dominated conversation in the drivers' group chat. According to Hamilton, the battery will run dry for a significant portion of each lap, and the electrical motor that normally boosts acceleration will effectively shut off for long stretches. He pointed specifically to Copse Corner, traditionally one of the most exhilarating parts of the lap, as an example of how different the experience will be. In the past, drivers have gone through Copse at full throttle with the engine screaming. This year, Hamilton expects the engine to lose power on the approach, possibly forcing drivers to downshift even while still fully on the throttle, just to keep engine revs high enough to maintain momentum. Maggots and Beckett's, the legendary flowing S-curves that have long been considered one of the ultimate tests of driver skill, won't escape the impact either. Hamilton suggested drivers may need to briefly lift off the throttle or coast through sections of that complex, something that would have been almost unthinkable in previous seasons. Beyond Silverstone specifically, Hamilton also touched on a broader issue for Ferrari, admitting the team loses meaningful lap time in a straight line compared to rivals, something he described as difficult to make up for through cornering performance alone. He still believes the underlying car is strong, but acknowledged the team needs to keep working to close the gap while maximizing whatever results are available in the meantime. Hamilton isn't alone in his assessment. Reigning champion Lando Norris, who won at Silverstone in 2026, backed up much of what Hamilton described, painting a picture of a circuit that will demand far less outright commitment than fans are used to seeing. Norris explained that compared to recent years when cars were among the fastest ever seen through high-speed corners, this season represents a noticeable step back in terms of on-track challenge. He singled out Copse specifically, saying it won't carry the same sensation of being pushed to the absolute limit that it has in years past. According to Norris, drivers will still find themselves decelerating for longer periods than they'd like through certain